Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Icehouse podcast. I'm Maryse, Customer Growth Partner at the Icehouse. And today on the podcast, we have Rob Ball from Plexus. The purpose of this podcast is to get to know Rob better, looking at his experience, business journey, and insight into New Zealand business. Looking forward to diving in. Thanks for joining us, Rob.
Thanks, Maryse. Looking forward to it.
All right, just some quick fire questions just to warm us up. So, what motivates you to get up in the morning?
Just really looking forward to seeing what clients have done since my last visit. I, work with some bunch of really awesome business owners and operators, and just getting up and seeing what they've done. That gets me up and motivated for the day.
That's a pretty special way to get motivated, isn't it?
Yep.
All right. So next, what is your go-to brew in the morning?
My go-to brew is definitely a flat white made from home. That was my biggest investment at the start of the year, is a decent coffee machine, or occasionally the occasional short black, depending on mood. But yeah, just good flat white made from home.
Does that change during the week?
No. So, and that's, whether or not I'm traveling, I always get up just at 10 minutes early, just so I can make sure it's all done and in the cup ready to go.
Very good. All right, this is an interesting one. What is your favorite board game?
Favorite board game? I haven't played it in a long while because no one wants to play with me, but Risk.
Love Risk.
It brings out the best and worst of people. It's a great game. I love it, but yeah, it often results in lots of arguments, but it's good. It's good fun.
Okay, and who is your favorite superhero?
I struggled on this one. I'm not going to go for the typical comic superheroes because it was something that I didn't really get into as a youngster. But I think mainly for me is definitely sports people, and I look at obvious ones for us around the All Blacks. So probably the earliest hero or someone I looked up to and admired was Wayne Shelford, as All Black coach, and just the mana he brought. And in respect to the role of All Black captain and being an All Black.
Yeah, so not just a sports star, but that superhero. Yeah, that's a good one, really good one. Okay, so let's get into you. So can you just walk us through your career to date?
Oh, it's a bit of a interesting journey. I left at high school in the early 90s and went straight into university, which I don't recommend these days. I think a gap year or two is great, but I went and trained as an occupational therapist. So 3 years in Auckland doing that, and then I was moving around different jobs as an OT, and specializing in neuro rehab and stroke rehab and head injuries and post-concussion syndrome. So if it's got something to do with the brain, I was pretty good at it. And then, went sort of through the leadership ranks. So team leader, then into sort of middle management. And then I had opportunities in Hawke's Bay when I was working there for about 10 years to go into the corporate side of district health boards. So I spent a few years working in the planning and funding team. So that was quite an interesting change of perspective in the health system. So, working with service providers, so rest homes were my main portfolio, and making sure contracts and their service was at good level of standard and they were delivering what we wanted to, and they had the help and support that they needed from us. And then, from that, I was asked to do a few regional projects. So I got to work with multiple DHBs around the lower half of New Zealand, set up the Central Cancer Network. So that was quite a pretty cool project, bringing together not-for-profits, NGOs, and the DHBs all around in one team, really, and one collective organisation, and then sort of came back to Hamilton and spent a few years in primary care, so working with GPs and their teams, and then been working for myself for the last few years now. So it's a bit of a journey, going from a therapist to a business consultant, but kind of makes sense as you go along the journey. But it's an unusual way to get to, certainly to become a lean consultant, that's for sure.
Yeah, we'll touch on that in a few questions' time as well. So speaking of connection, it looks like just from what you did in your days working at the DHB, connecting like-minded people with other like-minded people. So speaking of that theme around connection, so how are you connected with us, the Icehouse?
I've got you to thank for that, of course. And that was, I mean, that was certainly a result of good networking, and we're both working in the same geographical areas, so we keep bumping into each other and talking, and then I think it's when I certainly lifted up when I offered to do a Lego Serious Play session with you and the team, and that's when the relationship really took off, and I got to meet the rest of the Icehouse crew and the wonderful Liz as well, and ever since then, helping out with the LDP, or Leadership Development Program, and the OMP, Owner Manager Program, which are pretty cool groups to be involved in.
It's awesome that you're part of our Icehouse network, Rob. So what makes working with the Icehouse, appealing to you?
The family of the Icehouse, and what I've certainly learned is it's the alumni, it's the family, and you do get that connections through ex-OMP and LDP participants, that strong connection. And I guess it's like attracts like. So because you're bringing in some of those high performing owners and wanting to help and support them, I guess go to that next level, you get inspired by just walking in that room and just listening to what they've already achieved. And that's what I love about it is, that anyone who's got anything to do with the Icehouse, they're going to be pretty sharp already and ambitious. And so you're always going to learn, you're always going to be pushed, whether or not you're providing them with knowledge or you're sitting there receiving. I think it's certainly a two-way learning opportunity, no matter what session or organisation you're working with via the Icehouse. So I just think it's the people that are attracted to the Icehouse group are kind of the people I love working with as well.
It's the energy you get in the room, when you walk into a leadership program or an owner manager program, or connecting with Icehouse alumni outside of programs, whether it be a breakfast or at an event as well. You can kind of tell, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. The X factor motivation, they're the ones, they've obviously invested significantly to be there, but they know that there's something else that they can bring on and also to give as well. So they're just, it's just good people to be involved in. So that's why I always enjoy, some of the Icehouse sessions that I'm involved in.
Oh, that's awesome. So speaking of your involvement, can you just tell us a little bit more about Plexus Consulting? So you founded it. Why did you decide to step out on your own and just go for it?
It was a bit of a forced move, to be fair, as I was working for an organisation at the time and enjoying the people I was working with and enjoying the role, and certainly learning quickly as well. But through a restructure, I found myself not having a role, and these things happen. So I had a summer break effectively, and I thought, there's two options. Do I get a real job again, or do I sort of go out and do some of this consulting stuff that I've seen other people doing? And it didn't look that hard, so I chose the latter. So so a few years down the track now, I've taken all the lessons and the learnings of, I shouldn't have maybe gone into it quite so quickly, but it was an opportunity, and you take you take those opportunities and you make the most of it. So yeah, so I definitely think now the hard work's gone under the bridge of giving the opportunity and being made redundant, and then sort of being pushed into it, because I don't think I would have made the full decision by myself if I had a comfortable job and salary.
It does take that extra energy to go out, and it's that fear of the unknown, isn't it?
Massive.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of naivety too, to be fair. I just didn't really appreciate what I was getting myself in for. So again, if you're in it, just deep in, jump in, go for it.
Cool. Let's talk about Plexus. So there's two parts of your business.
Yep.
You've got your lean and you've got your LSP. So we'll talk a little bit more about LSP in a moment, but let's talk about lean first. So what is lean consultancy and how did you get into it?
Yeah, so I guess I'll answer a couple of questions that way. Lean or business improvement, I like to sort of talk about continuous improvement more than just pure lean, because that's it's a mindset of having a team and an organization turning up every day to go, how can we make our jobs, our business better, even if it's 1 or 0.5% improvement. Lean traditionally has a set of tools and a framework to help drive and see some of those improvement opportunities. But I like to take a step back and simplify it. And it's about business improvement. So how as a team, how as a business owner, a leader, how can you improve just one little thing in your job, or the teams, or in the overall business, improve something every day. So that's lean. And it certainly comes from the birth of lean is around Toyota, and sort of continuous improvement that they talk about, through to sort of the modern adaptations these days as well. So that's lean. And so as a consultant, I go in there and help start that culture, that mind shift with leadership, and right down to the front staff as well. So it's got to go right through an organization.
So lean's been a part of business for quite some time now. Why is it more important to do lean now in business?
Yeah, I mean, lean's had a patchy history. So, I mean, it does come from, as I just said, Toyota back in the 1940s and 50s. So you can tie it back in there. If you actually go into Toyota, they don't understand the term lean. They just look at it as continuous improvement. So lean was something that was coined by a couple of Americans in the 1980s. And it has been used poorly in the past to sort of reduce the amount of staff and all of that, so the costs. But when applied properly, it really is used to just make organizations run smoothly, engage their staff better. And I guess why it's even more useful now is it just helps create a mindset, a behavior of problem solving. So when we have issues like COVID coming up, and the uncertainty, I guess it's like going back to the sporting analogy. If you have teams practicing those skills, and when you need it, it just happens. So lean and the sort of problem solving mindset, and having that flexibility and that agility within a team, then it helps them adapt and change to different situations. So I think it's a skill set that teams definitely need to use and practice more often, because it is about change management as well, because we're always changing and we're always improving. So if you're used to change and used to adapting and going with it and problem solving, then I think the better you'll manage all of those times of uncertainty. But also probably just as important is, because if you're making your business more efficient, your profit margins will at least be maintained. So you can cope with, increasing costs with supply chain, or, certainly in New Zealand context, the cost of bringing in a container has gone up 3 or 4-fold at least already over the last 12 months. So you can absorb some of those extra costs rather than keeping increasing your own costs and potentially going out of business. So I think it's really one to sort of look at as a maintenance, as a growth management strategy as well.
And also like the analogy around sports teams, so practicing for all different types of situations as well. The All Blacks are an amazing example of that. So
yeah, and it's it's certainly practicing off the field, but it's also, all right, guys, it's not working. You get to see them do kind of the huddle in the middle of the field. They might have just had a try scored, and they're not blaming or shaming. They're going, right, what do we need? Get some clarity. What do we need to get back on track? So, and they practice that. They go into scenarios and they practice that, and that's what Lean does. If you're doing daily stand-ups and you're practicing talking about what your daily goal or your target or your objective or your game plan is, when there's uncertainty that comes in, then you're already practicing that. You're already in that mindset. So I definitely think it's a overall strategy that will help keep businesses afloat and also be that point of difference.
That's absolutely awesome. Thanks, Rob. So the second part of your business, I'm relatively new to this, but
Yes.
as you mentioned earlier, I had exposure to it twice now, been part of 2 workshops. So what is Lego Serious Play?
Yeah, so Lego Serious Play is a tool methodology, came from Lego. Everyone actually goes, did you come up with this, Rob? No, not at all. I'm not anywhere that clever. It was created by Lego in the early 90s, and they created it as a way to start to have different conversations and to think of different possibilities as a strategic planning tool. So they were about to go bust and they needed to think differently and act differently. Otherwise, they would have been no longer. So they brought in a couple of professors from one of the local universities, and together they created what we now see as Lego Serious Play methodology. And effectively, we use the Lego as the Lego pieces. So they are specialized kits that we all use. You don't have to, but it just helps. They've designed it. So you won't find any Star Wars Lego or Harry Potter, or any of the themed Lego, because it biases conversations. So that's why they've been specifically designed. And you use the Lego pieces as metaphors to enable you to have safe and open conversations about a particular topic. So the rule of thumb is that if it's an open-ended question and there's no predetermined answer, you can put it through a Lego Serious Play process with a team. So it could be, what does a great year look like? Or what is what's the ultimate customer journey? Or what does success look like? Or what are our values, or what are the values you expect from your colleagues? So you can put any open-ended question, and it lets everyone participate. And as you've experienced, Maryse, everyone has an opportunity to tell their story. You can't interrupt, and that's the part that I love, because then everyone has that input into the ultimate build. And then there's a few other, you can go off onto a couple of different techniques, but that's the essence. You get to use Lego, you build a model. They all look crazy models. They don't make any sense for anyone else except for the person who built it. But you put stories and metaphors to the pieces that you create.
And the one thing about that, because I've done it twice and I'm definitely not a creative person, what you create is your own, and no matter what, you can always tell a story from it and people will actually understand as well. So you don't have to have a creative mind. You don't have to build something amazing. Just build what you know you can build and that you can tell a story about as well. So
And
how
some
did
of the
you?
best stories, some of the best stories that came from have been the most simple builds, even just one brick on the table, and you think, wow, this is going to be interesting. And sometimes you wonder if they're totally engaged, but then the person puts so much story or meaning behind just that one little brick. So yeah, you don't have to be overly critical. We can't build like Lego Masters. Yeah, so it's pretty cool to see some of those stories come out.
So how did you get involved in LSP?
Yeah, well, last number of years I've used a lean Lego simulation game. So it uses Lego, and you get teams to create. You kind of set up a false factory, really, and you go from chaos. They do have 4 rounds of creating these little widgets. And then you teach them the theories and the ideas of lean through it, and they go from total chaos to absolute great outcomes and calm, and doing twice as much work with half the amount of staff, by learning and doing continuous improvement. So I was looking at it, and being the inquisitive person I am, I was looking, how else can I use Lego and being active? So this is a occupational therapist coming out of me. I've got to learn by action and doing. So I started doing some research and came across Lego Serious Play and thought, wow, this looks really awesome, because I love strategy, but I never had a process that I enjoyed myself. So I didn't enjoy the post-it brainstorm sessions and whiteboard exercises that people typically do. So it was just a natural extension to that. So yeah, so I was born of just being inquisitive around how do I use Lego in different workshops. Found Lego Serious Play, and the closest master trainer was in Melbourne. So good colleague now, Michael Fern, so got trained by him, and yeah, the rest is history.
No, that's awesome. So it's a fun way of getting everyone together to focus on an outcome that everyone has contributed to. So rather than having, oh yes, let's go and have a strategic workshop for 3 hours, let's go and play with some Lego for 3 hours, and you would get similar outcomes.
Absolutely. And as you would have experienced, a lot of people see it and go, oh, it's a great team building exercise. And although there is that element, it's a team engagement exercise rather than a team building. So yeah, no, I have lots of fun, and it's great to see those engagements across teams all the time when you do. And it's also amazing how many people still walk into the room and see a big table full of Lego and go, oh, we are actually using Lego. I'm going, yep. What part of Lego Serious Play did you not pick up on?
Yeah, and I mean it's great as well, because sometimes in meetings you do have dominant people and people that sit back and would love to ask questions or contribute. Whereas Lego Serious Play, everyone is on an even playing field, aren't they? And they can all contribute equally. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the part that I really, really enjoy, is just seeing those. You see it as the room starts to fill up, and you can pick the ones that are normally quiet and a little bit reserved. But once they're given the opportunity to share their story without interruption and without the fear of being wrong, because you can't be wrong when you build your answer, then during the session they just warm up and they get a lot more confident at telling their views and their ideas. So it's great.
Cool. All right. So I've got 2 more questions left. They're pretty powerful questions. So what piece of advice would you give New Zealand business right now?
New Zealand business right now is slow down and just get things right. This is biased with the continuous improvement, but I think particularly with the ups and downs of COVID, we can kind of sort of push hard and try and catch up, and then I think it's about slowing down and sort of communicate more, engaging your team more. I think I've got a client at the moment, and was through a Lego Serious Play workshop, and he talked about slowing down to go faster. So I think that's my biggest advice is, it's okay to stop for an afternoon and re-engage with the team and sort of reset the goals, get clarity on what the expectations are, and put everyone at rest, so everyone knows what's going on, and take all of those unknowns out as much as you can. So that's the part you can control.
Yeah.
So rather than sort of go into panic mode, it's that counterintuitive. It's just like, take a deep breath. It's okay to stop for a couple of hours and have those conversations. Ask the team, engage with the team, and ask them what the solutions are, because your team are the experts. That's why you hire them. Use that knowledge, use that resource. It doesn't have to always come from the leadership, the owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And a phrase that I use quite often and is used through Icehouse programs as well is, control what you can and let go of what you can't. And part of that stepping back or stopping is going, okay, what can I do and what can't I do?
Yep. In Lean, there's a tool or a method, part of the thinking, and it's leader standard work. So effectively breaking it down into simple things. It's what is mission critical, and do those first. And don't do anything else. Don't get sidetracked, but just do those mission critical things and then build on that. So that's what's your standard as a leader, and what's mission critical? What do you need to do? What can you sort of defer? What can you delegate? And do those important things first. Because certainly in uncertain times, we fill our days with firefighting, with just noisy things. Just get that clarity of what's important, do those, then move on to other tasks.
Yeah, clear, direct communication.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. So thinking of the future, what excites you most about the future of New Zealand business?
I think the different types of businesses that are coming, I guess, to the fore. So like certainly in the Waikato, IT and sort of technology, scaringly intelligent people doing some awesome things. And the diversity in New Zealand businesses too. So, and you'll see this in your job, Maryse, is you get invited to go and meet these people, and it could be just a roller door down a driveway on Te Rapa Strait, and then they're going, oh yeah, we're world leading in this and this and this, and and I guess we have to think, being geographically distant, we have to be clever about what we're doing and how we do things. So that always excites me to see how Kiwi businesses adapt to that scenario, but just the different types of businesses that are coming up. They might be technically in a manufacturing, but world leading and using 5G technology or whatever. I spent time up in Auckland with the Spark Innovation Centre, and if anyone has an opportunity, go and visit it, because the stuff that's coming out of there is just pretty impressive, and most of that, if not all of it, is driven by New Zealand thinking and technology leaders. So there's just, I never get surprised about the stuff that you get to see in around small medium businesses in New Zealand, and the stuff that they pull out and do. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, definitely echo what you're saying there, Rob. And every week I'm amazed by how amazing like these businesses locally, in Auckland, down in the South Island, are as well, and just the inspiration that I get just from these stories, and also your story today as well, Rob. I'd like to thank you so much. It was awesome to hear a little bit more about you as a person, but then also, who you are as a consultant and how you can help New Zealand businesses in terms of lean and Lego serious play.
Thank you, Maryse. No, it's been fun, and and I also look forward to doing more work with the Icehouse and Icehouse partners, and alumni. It's great.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.